I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive.
Just a clean, I'm out and I'm moving out of the cottage. This isn't quite over yet.
No, we're sticking around for the hangover of Justin Trudeau for the next little while, because he remains Liberal Party leader. He remains prime minister until they pick a new leader. And what's disturbing to me, and we can talk about this in a bit more detail, is that the Liberal Party, including, the 14-year-old Chinese national students who are at a boarding school in Toronto, are going to be helping pick the next prime minister of our country and not the electorate. We needed an election. We're not getting one. Instead, he's prorogued Parliament, and he's sticking around until they pick a new leader sometime in March. So, and as far as you owing Warren a steak dinner, and he's going to claim I owe him lunch at the Patricia Grill now.
Claim you owe me lunch, pal.
How long have you been saying he was going to resign? More than
Oh, no,
year.
I didn't have to give a date, actually, but we got to give credit to one of our colleagues, Lawrence Martin, who's been around Ottawa since Jesus was a little fella, said on Friday, Justin Trudeau's resigning on Monday. And all of us kind of looked at that and said, wow, he didn't even put a qualifier in there. He said he's resigning on Monday. We got to give him credit, full respect. He is the only guy who said that. All that I have been saying for months, and thank you, Adrian, for admitting that you owe me a lunch. Brian, we'll get to you in a moment. I didn't know what the date would be, but I knew he was going to leave before an election because he didn't want to lose it. And getting back to Brian's point a minute ago, it makes sense to me that they're not calling an election now because they'd lose it. They'd lose it badly. So I think the most significant thing out of his statement, well, there are two things for me. Firstly, he looked relieved. He looked sad, but he looked relieved. Kind of weight off of his shoulders. But secondly, he was asked about the House coming back for this supply vote at the end of March, and he said, if they want to vote us down, they can. I don't believe him for a minute. That tells me that they have got another Axis of Weasels deal with the NDP, because there's no way that they have decided to be defeated during the middle of a Liberal leadership race. No way.
And a Liberal Party that is a complete mess, a government that is a complete mess. And that actually infuriates me. We are in a horrible position simply because of this man's ego. He could have left a year ago. He could have left last June, given him his government and his party a chance to recover with a new leader. He chose not to. He was convinced that he was Canada's messiah. He was going to save us from, first it was misinformation and disinformation, then it was save us from Pierre Poilievre, then it was save us from Donald Trump, and finally, he read the polls correctly, read the mood of his caucus correctly, and decided that he's going to leave. But where does that fall on that? Trump has come out and said, absolutely not. He will not back away from his tariff threat. He's talking about tariffs constantly. And who's he going to negotiate with? Is he going to negotiate with Justin Trudeau, who before was effectively a lame duck, now is a lame duck? Is he going to negotiate with the half dozen or more Liberal leadership candidates? By the way, some of whom were the people that were going down to Mar-a-Lago to try and tell him, oh, things are good. And by the way, back to Warren's point about that supply bill, the spending bill has to be passed by the end of March. That has to include the money for the border, because the $1.3 billion announced has never been voted on by Parliament. So they can't just start spending that now. It's not like the department deciding to order $200 of copy paper instead of $100. This is tens of millions. You can't do that without Parliament voting. And now they won't vote till the end of March. We're screwed because Trudeau botched everything.
And he's forgotten everything. He's learned nothing. During his 10 years in the most important job in the country, he has taken the Liberal Party of Canada, one time the most successful political machine in Western democracy, and reduced it to a wing of the New Democratic Party. So he's taken the ideological orientation of the Liberal Party and gutted it and created a tremendous problem for his successor. The second problem that he created, and this was deliberate, the way they made Liberal memberships for free, the way they ran social media, the decisions they made, putting his face on everything, including ads they ran just last week with him is they put other people in the window. You know, they take their colleagues and they let them share in some of the sunshine and some of the attention. And this guy has not done that. He turned the Liberal Party into a function of himself, a cult of personality. And the danger of that, when your party becomes a cult of personality, is when the leader stumbles, as this guy has, because Brian's quite right, this should have happened a year ago, the whole thing falls apart. I do believe the Liberal Party is going to tick up a little bit. A lot of people who were angry, 24 hours ago, are a little less angry because he's now gone. He was the focus of the anger. They're going to have a leadership race, and the Conservatives and the New Democrats are going to disappear. Whenever there's a leadership race of a governing party, the opposition parties, no offense to them, they just disappear. So the Liberal Party is going to tick up again, and then you're going to get a new leader, and they're going to get a honeymoon because everybody gets one. Whether it's Poilievre or Trudeau or Ignatieff or Dion, everybody gets a honeymoon. They're going to tick up again. So we're going to have a much more competitive environment than we've had over the past year and a half. So we're not going to be looking at a 22, 23 point gap between the Tories and Liberals. It's going to narrow. Do I believe that the Tories still are positioned to win? Absolutely, because I think that Poilievre is disciplined and so is his party, and they've got more money than God. But right now, it's going to be a hell of a fun year for people like us because it's going to be a much tighter race than it was just 24 hours ago.
Who is running the country? At this point, we don't really have a functioning government. And we haven't for weeks. Trudeau was asked, why didn't you just go to an election? And if you listen to his answer, what does he do? He does what he always does. He blames someone else. And he said, well, Parliament wasn't working, so we need to prorogue. And he blamed the opposition for Parliament not working. Why wasn't it functioning? Because his government refused to hand over the documents in the Green Slush Fund scandal. How bad are those documents? How bad does it show corruption within that office? The government would rather shut down Parliament than say, hey, yeah, here's what happened. They would rather defy an order of the Commons, of the Speaker.
I want to support what Brian is saying. Although, if you were to ask every single Liberal, do you want to have a leadership race during the middle of a tariffs war with Donald Trump? No, they would not. They would like to have a much more calm environment. However, my guy, worked full disclosure for Jean Chrétien. We came in 1990 during the Oka crisis, the Meech Lake failure, and the GST confrontation in the House of Commons and the Senate, and we got through it. So, these things happen in politics, and it's one of the things that makes it fun to watch. But I am just super happy that the worst prime minister in my lifetime is gone.